And starting in 3, 2, 1. And welcome to another episode of That Karate Podcast. My name is Liam Gallagher.
And I'm Sean McLaren. Hello.
And today we have with us...
I'm Mary Stevens.
And...
I'm Virginie Miklos.
Thank you very much for joining us today, ladies. It's great to see you. Thank you very much. Obviously, we've kind of... they're working with the FairFight Charity, which... we've already discussed quite extensively on the podcast, and been threatened by Stephen Chan to keep it going, to kind of keep the discussion going. But we've been chatting about it the last wee while, and the ladies have very kindly agreed to come on and spotlight the charity and tell us about their great work. But first of all, we'd like to know what got you started in martial arts. So first to you, Mary, what got you going?
Well, I think you can probably track it back to Hong Kong Fooey originally. Because like many of us, I'm inspired by great martial arts role models. And I think it's definitely safe to say that Hong Kong Fooey is very close to my heart and very much the kind of standard of martial arts that I aspire to. And as a frustrated junior, kind of like looking at all this cool martial arts going on around me, and my mum made me do ballet, which if you've ever seen me is just like I'm nearly 6. I could see she's met me. She didn't know that about the ballet, but I did have ballet for quite a long time, and which was So basically, I was a non-martial artist for a very, very long time, and then finally, when I had kids of my own. I really wanted to get my son into karate because he's on the autistic spectrum and he was being bullied, and that was quite an important thing for me. And at the same time, I started training, and that's going back, 20 odd years ago now. So, and I loved it, and I have my own karate school here in Oxfordshire in the UK. So yeah, that's me. Traditional karate, but also a strong eye towards self-defense, which is come about a lot partly due to our work with FairFight and understanding what women really need to learn. So,
what's the name of your dojo, Mary?
It's Athena School of Karate. Thanks for asking.
Get the shout out there. We'll get that. It was your Facebook lead. We'll put it on the wee post. So, Jenny, what about yourself? What got you started?
I guess that you'll be able to tell our respective ages if I tell you that for me it was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Well, now I feel old. You totally see me under the bus there.
But there was a few years interval between the movie coming out and me actually starting karate, because I was actually a high-level equestrian for my youth, and it's horse riding is quite an expensive sport, so it's only when I went to university and was a poor student and didn't have the money to keep doing horse riding that I'd finally got the chance to start martial arts, because my brother had been doing judo since he was quite young, so I'd always had like an eye to it, and also something that always interested me. And then I started training at University of Kent then in 2004 or something. Around there, under Sensei Mark Caddy, who was a student of Stephen Chan, so it's like already one generation down from Stephen Chan. And I just kind of immediately, for all these years. So I'd started out with shotokan. I then, for a few years, focused only on competitive kickboxing. So I went to study in France afterwards, and I was on the national team for the savate, which is like a type of French kickboxing. Then I returned to karate briefly when I moved back to the UK. Then I moved to Southeast Asia, where I took up Kung Fu for a few years, and also shitoryu karate. And then when I returned to Holland in 2013, that's when I found my permanent dojo home now, with Sensei Gonzalo Villarrubia in shitoryu karate here in Delft in the Netherlands.
Wow, that's a bit of a journey there. Yeah, that was from horse riding to that. That was interesting. So we can move on to FairFight if that's okay. If you could tell us a bit about the charity, who wants to start with that?
I think Jeannie should start with that because she's the chair and she founded it. So
Right,
go,
Ginny,
Jeannie.
it's on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I founded FairFight in 2015. So at this point, I was living in Holland. So it's a Dutch charity registered in Rotterdam, registered as a non-profit foundation here. A bit of background about FairFight is that I studied human rights and international politics at the University of Kent. And I had always wanted to go for a career in international development and international aid. So I already had some experience working for large and small NGOs, ranging from the Red Cross to really small local NGOs. I had experience of working in Africa and in Asia and in the Caribbean. And by and large, I was really disappointed with the way that international aid was carried out. I had experienced that, first of all, there was a lot of entropy, a lot of money being lost, a lot of time being wasted, a lot of energy being lost. People were burned out within 5 to 10 years of starting their work in international aid. It was kind of a running joke at the Red Cross, like, how long can you last here?
Wow.
And in the end, this was all at the expense of the people that it was supposed to help. So these projects were not particularly sustainable. There was also a massive Western problem in international aid where not necessarily white people, but people with a Western culture or Westernized people would come into these places that they either didn't know or hadn't been to for a very long time, and start telling people what to do. And you can imagine how well that went. The answer is not very. So I actually dropped out of international aid work, even though it was my passion, because I didn't want to feed into that system. And I changed my career to focus on education because I thought, the root cause of the problem here, if we could educate people correctly, if we could educate on the basis of the right values of something empowering, then maybe we could tackle the problem at the root. And it was in my career as an academic specializing in education that I met so I work at the University of Rotterdam now, Erasmus University, and at Erasmus University I met a guy called Alex Whitcomb, who was a colleague there and who's from Zimbabwe. And it was the best things always happen over beer. And so it was, I taught kickboxing classes for the students and some of the staff tagged along. And Alex was one of the staff members who was tagging along. So one evening after a kickboxing class, I said, yo, Alex, you know what would be fantastic is if we could do like a project to help girls feel like, to help empower girls. And I had it in my head that India would be a place that I would love to work that out, because I knew of the situation of violence against women in India, also from my experience of working in South and Southeast Asia. And then Alex said, but hey, why don't you come and do this in my community in Zimbabwe? And then completely by chance, that happens to be where Stephen Chan was some 30 years before. And it was through Stephen Chan that we got put in contact with the local karate guys in Zimbabwe, and that we were able to build this kind of sustainable model where we come to support existing martial arts, to support and develop existing martial arts infrastructure. So the kinds of projects I had seen in martial arts and aid combined together is that some white person shows up in some dojo in a poor country, does BJJ or judo or something for a month, and then leaves. And I thought, well, I might as well not go. What's the point? I wanted something durable, a model that could be sustaining, empowering in the long run. I wanted to focus not just on physical skills, but also on the broader life picture, to really build close bonds with the communities where we were working, to not see these as like, faceless Oxfam poor child poster, but really build relationships with people there. And yeah, that's how we got started in Zimbabwe. And so how we've developed is actually by invitation from local communities. We other than that initial startup project in Alex's hometown in Marandera, all the others have been places where people have called up FairFight and gone, hey, could you partner with us? And that includes all the projects that we have in India and our other programs in Zimbabwe, and that we're soon to open in Zambia as well. So that's it's a long-winded kind of explanation, but I think it's very important to clarify why FairFight is not like your standard Western charity or your standard holiday martial arts program.
Where the white guy turns up to save the day.
Yeah.
Literally.
And so we now have 5 programs running, a 6th program about to launch, and Mary heads the 3 programs from India. So Mary's our India program coordinator since 2018.
Correct.
So what got you involved, Mary? What was your road into FairFight? How did that work?
Well, I'm about to say the word Stephen Chan again, which is just like, at the point where Jeannie says it's a coincidence, I don't think it really is, because my theory is that Stephen Chan isn't actually human, and that, he has this whole I've lived 100 lives thing. So I think it's actually more than that, and that he doesn't really exist. He's pretty much a figment of our imaginations, but that's for science to sort out. But, through the Martial Arts Network here in the UK, Stephen put out an email because the India project was struggling at that point, and Jeannie was trying to recruit somebody with a background in like educational martial arts to go and support the project, and just to kind of have a look at what was going on the ground and evaluate how to work better with our martial arts colleagues there and build better links, because the project was based out of a safe house for vulnerable girls whose families couldn't afford to, feed, clothe, educate them. And it was partnered with a local martial arts club. And this had all been set up before I got involved. But there were communication issues, there were training issues. The girls weren't really making any progress. And my big thing is educational martial arts. I teach, like the majority of my school, 90% of my school are under 18s. And I have always built very strong links between martial arts and life lessons. So that makes it sound as if I read the email and went, but that wasn't true at all. I read the email and thought, wow, what a great project. Somebody should definitely do that, because that's what people do. And I read it out to my daughter, who was just basically like, what the fuck, mum? Who even says that? She was like, how old was Charlie at the time? Maybe 17. And she says, did you just hear what you said? That's not how people should behave. You have the skills to go and help. And I'm like, I can't just drop everything and go to India. I was terrified of going to India because, unlike Jeannie, I hadn't spent most of my life traveling around the world. And I was like, oh, I can't, you're doing your A-levels. I'm, teaching. I can't. And she was like, we'll figure out all of those things, but you need to volunteer for this. So I sent a tentative email to Stephen saying, or did I email Jeannie? I can't remember. Just saying, maybe you've already filled this. I'm sure you've got lots of people that are desperate to do this, but just in case not, I have these skills that might be able to help you. And so, yeah, that was how I got involved in India, January 2018. And then by the middle of the year, I was project coordinator. And I've now been 5 times to India, should be going back hopefully another couple of times this year. It needs that. What we've experienced with all of the projects is that although the internet is an amazing thing, there's nothing like going to the places, being on the ground, meeting the people, training with our students, and really getting a sense of who people are. And that's when the projects move forwards, really, is when we're able to go and spend time there.
Programs. Mark, if you're listening, I know we're calling them programs now.
Oh, is that important? Sorry, I keep missing all of these memos. I'm really and I'm rubbish with spreadsheets as well. That's the other thing. You're supposed to be really good at that kind of thing. So am I a program coordinator instead of a project coordinator? Oh, am I? Okay, good. That's the thing that I am, guys. So please make sure that you call me that.
See, this is what I do all day now. I have 5 coordinators. This is
correct grammar.
Did you just get a promotion from a project to a program?
yeah, that definitely sounds like no. I don't want any promotion. Definitely not. No more responsibility.
No, well, there's a very simple reason why we moved from calling them projects to programs, and that's because project is kind of when you set something up, right?
Okay.
It's got kind of a start date and end date. And then we realized after a while, well, we're actually in this for good, like we're committed now. So then there are programs because they're ongoing, there's no end date, they're self-sustaining. Of course, all of our programs still need our input, and I think they, it's a long-run partnership, but it's also just a signal that we see this as something that we're in for the long run for good.
Yeah, that
Nice.
makes sense.
And what kind of
Sorry,
sorry,
carry on,
go.
Sean. No, no,
and kind of what keeps you going? What obviously you guys have been there and kind of experienced it. Can you kind of help people who haven't? I've not traveled to anywhere other than Japan. That's about it. What kind of keeps you guys going? And is there something there that just kind of keeps it ticking over and inspires you and drives you to keep going back, keep helping out?
So I have to say again that this goes back to the structure of FairFight and the way that we operate. And this is why we survived and thrived in the pandemic, whereas so many charities crashed and burned. And that is our local network.
Okay.
We depend on and coexist and co-work and co-thrive with local networks. Whether that's in India, whether that's in Zimbabwe, or soon in Zambia, we just have this very grassroots network on the ground. We partner with schools, we partner with local karate and martial arts associations, we partner with local charities, and we work through this network. They're kind of our eyes and ears on the ground. They are the people who carry out the projects and programs on a day-to-day basis, but also the projects within projects. So like when we had the COVID started, we set up a fundraiser for distributing food hampers because we realized that unless we did that, there might not be families left to join the training at the end of the lockdown. Because, in Zimbabwe or in India, if your government tells you to stay behind closed doors and that you can't go to work, well, you also don't get paid and therefore you don't eat. So whereas we might have experienced the lockdowns, this loss of personal freedom, and it was pretty hard for us. But in Zimbabwe, there was risk getting the virus and then roll the dice on dying or not because there's no oxygen supply in Zimbabwe, or don't work and then starve. So we saw, for instance, increase in teenage pregnancies during that time because schools were closed, massive increase in drug use, exodus of young men from Zimbabwe to South Africa where they were hoping to find better economic opportunities. So it's been really a tragic time, but because of our very nimble grassroots nature, we've been able to respond to these situations in a very fast and nimble manner. So there's a fundraiser on Facebook on Monday. It closes on Friday. By the Monday after, someone's already at the market purchasing the food. And by Tuesday and Wednesday, it's delivered to the families in Zimbabwe or in India. So we've really just been able to just be there, be on the ground, respond, do what it takes. We're constantly putting out fires of this girl's gone missing or this girl needs a home like now, and we're able to do that thanks to our grassroots networks.
Yeah. Obviously, I agree with that. Jeannie always has the bigger eye and the structural overview, which and I tend to be like more in the microcosm. Like for me, it's all about the individuals and the relationships that we have. So the girls that we have in India, watching them grow up, watching them develop, watching them benefit from their karate training has been just incredible, and having that ongoing relationship so that when we go back, it's that there's so much, we've been going back for a long time now and we've seen so much change. So with our karate girls, that's huge. And with all the, as Jeannie was saying, with our local partners on the ground, I went on my own this time, which I haven't done before, but it wasn't really like being on my own because we have like so many different people there now that we consistently work with. Yeah, and then with our Red Brigade project, the girls that I was working with, I built a long relationship over Zoom for like a year. So we had quite a big head start, and I knew a lot about them and their individual circumstances. So then it's about like, yeah, context and relationships, I would say.
It was kind of nice. I follow you on Facebook, and it was just nice to kind of see your journey when you were recently over there. You were very kindly kind of sharing some pictures and stuff, and it was just nice to kind of follow that journey as well. It was great to see.
Well, thank you for following it.
No. It's good to see.
Ginny, we talked previously. I think it was just before Christmas. You told me about the Dojo album at Zimbabwe. Is that correct? The central dojo in Zimbabwe. It became like an essential hub for the local community. Could you for our listeners and those that are watching, could you maybe touch on that again for us?
Yeah, so that's one of our most exciting kind of new programs. This is a place called Mbare, which is in the kind of political hotspot in Harare, but it's also the poorest township in Harare. It's everything that you have in your mind about a township, shanty structures built from bricks you don't know how they hold together, and there's some corrugated tiling on the roof, and every 6 months the police comes and clears the place, and within a week it's rebuilt, and there are people everywhere, including kids on the street everywhere in Mbare, and so within the heart of this bustling, it's crazy, the atmosphere in Mbare, there's music, there's people, it's really hustling, bustling. It's not somewhere that I would ever go unaccompanied by myself. But right in the middle of this place, there's a dojo. Really, it's like this oasis in the middle of this place. And this dojo is run by a group of shotokan senseis. And they've been doing it by themselves for 16 years. And they had never reached out for help. So they had always been just kind of trying to get by with the money that they could gather together. And well, the building is, considering where it is, at least it's got solid walls. Thanks to FairFight, the roof now no longer leaks because FairFight funded for the repairs just before the monsoon. We also funded for them to fix the fence so that there's kind of safety, but it's kind of a safe haven for the street kids there. So they have boys and girls there, from kind of youth, we saw very small children there all the way up to teenagers, and they have a kind of really makeshift gym. There's a kind of sink area, and we are going to try and apply for some funding from an organization to turn that into a community kitchen where the girls could actually learn a trade and make some money from that, so kind of micro entrepreneurship. And then there's a dojo there, the central dojo there, and basically they reached out to us 2 years ago to ask for help in creating a safe space for women in that dojo. So we've been sharing our practices with them, particularly regarding self-protection, and Charlie, Mary's daughter, has been involved in that aspect of kind of the work Mary's been doing in India, trying to translate that in the Zimbabwean context. They've been creating classes where there are only girls now, focus on self-defense, and we've just opened up 2 scholarship slots because the girls there, a lot of them have dropped out of school already, so we're going to try. This is really a new experiment for us because we've given scholarships out. We have 2 scholarship programs, the Ambassador of Change and Future Leaders. So Ambassador of Change is high school and Future Leaders is after high school. So that's been with girls who were still in education. This is going to be our first attempt at getting girls back into education who have left school due to poverty. And I have really, really high hopes for this program in Mbare and our collaboration with these guys. They're really just a fantastic bunch of senseis, really just so sharp, heart and mind in the right place. We really see eye to eye. We're really on one line, and I think we can do really great things over there. But of course, for 16 years, they had no help whatsoever. So there's so much work to be done there in terms of just... well, everything could be redone from scratch, rebuilt, secured. So that's really a program I'm going to be throwing my heart into to try and get that developed over the next couple of years.
Yeah, it's the fact that, as you're saying, there seems to be such hardship in that area, and then to hear that a dojo is the centre of it, has really kind of struck me, because although in the Western world, it's maybe not quite the same, but we try to be part of our communities and our wider community. But that really is a real hub for the community there. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think the proof of it was that they took us on a tour of the like on a walk around of the township. Again, the last time I did this, I went around this township. I had a police escort. There were like 6 policemen. It was me and a group of students from Erasmus University. This time, no police escort, just the senseis. And everybody in the community was like, "Sensei, sensei!" And every time somebody tried to get a little too close, somebody else would grab them by the collar and pull them back. That's how much sway they have in that community. That's how loved and respected they are in that community. This dojo doesn't get vandalized. It doesn't, like, stuff doesn't disappear from there. They are proud to have the cleanest toilets in all of Harare. And it's funny because they share that building with the Harare City Council, but basically they made a deal that they'll keep the building looking nice in exchange for being allowed to be there. So Harare City Council also benefits from having the cleanest toilets in Harare.
It's always nice to give back, isn't it?
Fantastic. So you've obviously mentioned you've got your new project, starting in Zambia. Is that correct? Yeah. So what is next for FairFight? What have you got? Have you got planned for 2022? Hopefully, there's less restrictions, less lockdowns. Hopefully, we're seeing the back of COVID. Hopefully, what for yourselves, girls? What's next?
So I can talk about Zambia, and then I'll head over to Mary for discussing India. I blame Stephen Chan again for Zambia. So what happened is that one of our girls finished high school on our Ambassador of Change scholarship, and then she really wanted to go to medical school, but she couldn't get into medical school in Zimbabwe, but she got a place in Zambia. Now these girls, they are wonderful girls. They have the heart in the right place. They really have dreams, but they've never had to organize themselves or do anything for themselves, because this is the place of women in Zimbabwe in this kind of patriarchal culture is just to do what your husband tells you to do. So, and this is not me saying it, this is my mentee Tinashe, who tells me, "Virginie, you have to understand, this is how girls are brought up here. And what you're asking of them is really hard." So we had this girl, Ruva, who was 18 or 19 or something, headed off on a bus with a suitcase off to Lusaka, where she had never been, of course, and she had not really traveled abroad much, or, suddenly by herself. I mean, it's scary enough. I don't know, because my daughter's too young, but Mary will tell you it's scary enough to send your kids to university, let alone, when this girl is by herself. So I just messaged Stephen. I was like, "Stephen, I have a problem. I have a girl that's heading to Lusaka." And Stephen said, "Ginny, you have to meet Martha."
Oh my God, Martha.
And so Martha, the legend that is Martha, is a badass, kick-ass, third dan Shorin Ryu sensei from Lusaka who takes no prisoners. And she's like, she's one in a million, but if there is ever a role model for our girls to aspire to, it's Martha. And Martha immediately said, "Of course, I will go pick up Ruvarashe from the bus station in Lusaka. She can stay at my house for 5 days until we sort out her bank account and accommodation." And so when it came time to organize our first post-COVID impact visit to Southern Africa, actually we were not sure at this stage that Zimbabwe was going to open at all. So we had a backup plan to travel to Zambia. And then in the end, we ended up combining a visit to Zambia and to Zimbabwe. And I went with Maryse, the head of our, she's from HGKI UK. And she's the head of our mentors and scholarship program, and we just got on with Martha instantly. They were just, we knew that you know when you have this connection with someone, you're like, yes, we share the same values. There may have been some dancing in a bar in Lusaka that may or may not have ended up being filmed and posted on Facebook.
And there's alcohol involved.
So then Martha, being the very proactive businesswoman that she is, immediately set about registering a foundation in Zambia called Girl Kicks to serve as the local partner for FairFight. So we now have our local partner. All we need to do now is find a suitable space, because we could get free spaces in the CBD, for instance, by negotiating with the university, but it's too dangerous for the girls to walk from the townships to that space. So space is super important from a woman's perspective, whether it's in India, whether it's in Zimbabwe, but increasingly I realize even here in Rotterdam, space is so different if you're a woman compared to if you're a man, and walking distances matter. So we're looking for the right space, and we're really hoping to kickstart FairFight Zambia in May. And then India.
So it was really a massive priority to get to India and to make plans with our partners before Christmas, despite the fact that the travel is still completely ridiculous. And the travel is still completely ridiculous. I'm planning to go back April and October, which is our normal kind of schedule. We try and go like twice a year. At the moment, who knows what's going to happen, because of the marvelous nature of Brexit, we don't have a trade deal with India, which means that it's very difficult to get a visa to India. And I was very, very lucky. There was a company that stepped forward to fund my visa this time, because it cost me nearly £1,000 to get a visa when it should cost like €80. So I'm in the midst of trying to get my Irish passport, because being half Irish, it's about time that I sorted that out. But of course, they're not that focused in Dublin on giving British people Irish passports. They're, it tends to go down to the bottom of the pile, understandably. So and India is behind us with COVID. So although COVID numbers have really, really increased in this last little while, they've maintained the borders are still very tight. I had to isolate. I had to do a 7-day quarantine when I went over, which was like half the time that I was there, and that's still in. I had to do like 5 PCR tests and all the rest of that, and that's still going on. So while travel is still very difficult, that's a challenge. But we have got lots of really good plans. It was good to touch base with our karate girls. Their training is going on really nicely now that they're back in school. The Red Brigade project, so working on the self-defense in the communities, that was a really big step forward, working with their instructor team, but there's a lot more work to do there. We also have identified different ways of supporting the victims of acid attack that we that met and talked to. We had a really good meeting this week, actually. I haven't even updated Jeannie on this. Angeli and Charlie and Moy and I all got together to help plan a marketing campaign for the cafe to help. So basically the acid survivors work in a cafe, so because it's very difficult for any woman in India with a disfigured face to get work. The cafe is running at a loss, and Facebook people have been absolutely amazing about coming forward and trying to support this, and we're looking at ways to help with, like, FairFight likes to invest in long-term training as opposed to hand out short-term solutions. So we're looking into local courses in business management and marketing and other ways that we can help the cafe sustain itself in the long term, as opposed to just stop it from just going under, which we want to. We can do that, but we need to be able to help the people that work there keep it going. So yeah, there's a lot going on. We've also got a really great partnership with a project called Project Marla. They're still a project, but they have been going for 35 years, just saying, Jeannie.
A project. Be sure it's a project.
Yeah, exactly. But they've got some fantastic schools across the area where they take children from the poorest families and provide them with a really good education. And they're really trying hard to level the gap as well, with because girl babies get very neglected, they get less nutrition, they get less stimulation because they're not allowed to kind of go outside of the house. And and so on. So girls are already lagging significantly behind boys even before school starts. And then so there's a massive disadvantage all the way through. So they're working really hard to try and level that out. And my work with them is kind of around girls that are about to go to university. So giving them some situational awareness and kind of relationship boundary setting kind of work, so that when they go to university, they're more likely to be able to safely access their education, because a lot of girls drop out of education at that level because of harassment and kind of the very there's just a huge level of sexual abuse that goes on in that kind of environment, which we can help preemptively. Like we can help these young women before they get to university. That's the kind of the objective there.
It's quite stark listening when you hear. I mean, you kind of know that these things go on, but to hear it, it's quite upsetting. As the father of a daughter and a grandparent of a granddaughter, it's very difficult to hear that these things are a necessity. But
Yes.
they obviously are. So
I know, it really is. I mean, I completely relate to that. I mean, obviously, I've mentioned my own daughter a few times, and she also she works in a cafe and has done for quite a long time as a way of supporting her education and so on. And Sangeeta, the acid attack survivor that we were working with closely when we were there this time, we had a lot of conversation with her about what happened to her and the legal and medical situation that she's in and how it affects her daily life. To have her say, when somebody comes up the steps and into the cafe and they see me behind the till with my face and they turn around and walk away again, and you just go, oh my God, you wear that every day. And a lot of the things that we learned from her, as you were saying, it's stuff that we already know, and yet it just stabs you in the guts when you speak to the people that are living that's their reality every day.
yeah, it's uncomfortable to listen to, and I don't mean that. I hope that it comes across the correct way, but I think it's something that people need to hear. People need to know and be educated that this really does happen. It's not just a news article. It's lives that are being damaged and under threat. But the work you're doing is, the way you're doing it is so clever as well. The way you're tackling it is so unique, and the fact that you're using what we do as martial artists, as karate guy, it's not the job, but it seems to be the road in certain areas, and it's using that as the roots of, if not a solution,
no, it is. It's brilliant, and that's where we get, like, the martial artists totally get this, because they know how martial arts makes them feel, and they know what they've learned from that experience. So this is why fair fight as a concept, you can explain it in like 3 sentences to a martial artist, and they're like, yes, I get that. And people like you, I mean, we really, really appreciate your support. Your support is incredible, and thank you for doing your birthday fundraiser and that kind of stuff. People like yourself in the martial arts community understand why this would work, because it does work, and we've seen it work on in so many different contexts, and martial arts is such a universal language as well. So I mean, it's it's disciplined, and it's powerful, and it's it's just awesome. And so it's relatable, and it's functional. So I have never come across any other NGO like us doing things the way that we do. So that's cool.
No, well, hearing Ginny's statements earlier on about how, let's say, badly run or inefficiently run some of the better known charities are, it was quite surprising, because
it's at every level. I mean, I've worked for small and large NGOs, and the general, like, people just have no idea what they're doing. I am quite lucky in that. Well, lucky. I mean, I made a choice to study human rights law and international aid. So I mean, and even so, we learn as we go, like, we've also made our fair share. As Mary was saying, that the India program, when she came on board, was a hair's breadth from collapse. So we are tenacious, and we are definitely we always try to fix things the best like we can. We don't, when we've never had to give up on any of our programs so far, but oh my, the work that goes into it. And I'd just like to give a big shout out to the whole team here, because you're speaking to Mary and myself, but of course there's the other coordinators that are working behind the scenes. There's you know, all of our volunteers over the years, and nobody takes a pay cut from FairFight. Nobody gets paid a cent to do the work. So even people pay their own flight tickets. So when you donate money to us, it actually goes straight into the programs that we run. It mostly goes into scholarships. It goes into renewing karate equipment. It goes into paying for grading fees and competitions. It goes into things like the emergency food distributions we had. It goes into the infrastructure, like repairing the walls of the dojo. So we have a very kind of short circuit from donation to stuff being funded, basically, and all our finances are public, so they're all available on our website. Annual reports are there for everyone to see, and yeah, it's just really important. I think it's very easy for people to think that, you know, to just see FairFight as an organization and not to see the people behind it who were just working their asses off, you know, to keep this going. And real shout out to especially all the women on the team who put in the work. I had this thought last year when we finally managed to get Ruvarashi into medical school, that there was a chain link of 8 women. It took 8 women working together to get this girl from Marandera to Lusaka to medical school, of 8 women linking together to find the funds, organize the logistics on the Zambia side, on the Zimbabwe side, you know, to gather 5 donors together to fund the whole thing. I mean, the work and all of this, everybody involved in FairFight has a day job as well. So this is why we're doing this at 8 o'clock in the evening on a Sunday. Because, so yeah, just I want to remind people that that's why we're always asking. I hate asking for help. Like, it's not in my nature, and I know it's not in Mary's nature either, but when we do what we do, we have to ask for help. And that's why we're so grateful that you're, you know, giving us this opportunity to say, you know, if you can support us, you'll free up. If I don't have to spend all day trying to look for money to just fund these scholarships and fund these things, then I can focus my energy on making sure that everything is running properly on the on like the ground. And that's such a blessing to have that opportunity. And also, we are recruiting a mentor. We are looking for a woman of 25 years or above. If she's in martial arts, great, because then she'll have a communication point with a girl to mentor a young lady returning to school in the Mbare project. So shout out if there's any woman out there who thinks that you might fit the bill. There's no financial commitment. FairFight takes care of that. So it's just about being available with time to communicate and help this girl reintegrate school.
That's great. Well, that led on to my next question. What can we do? So, what can we do to help? So, if somebody's just listening to this for the first time, they've not heard of you, they don't know, they've now been educated on what a program is, and now, well, how can we help you? Obviously, money. How do we get that money to you? What other help and assistance could you do with? What can the martial arts community do to step up?
Okay, so the first thing is, of course, you can follow us. We post most of our things on Facebook and Instagram, so that's how you can find out what we're up to. And we also have a newsletter, lovingly curated by Elsie, who's awesome. One of our volunteers. She's awesome. She also does the social media. If you want to help us financially, if you're in the Netherlands, then you can make a direct donation to us, to our bank account, and that would be tax deductible. If you're not in the Netherlands, but if you're in one of the countries where Facebook allows fundraising, and that's most OECD countries, then you can create a fundraiser on Facebook. Facebook does not charge us, so it's one of the only platforms that does not charge us for fundraisers. The only condition is that your fundraiser has to reach to €100 before they send you the money. But that's been working really well for us. So it's just really easy. You can go to our page and say create fundraiser. You can the fundraisers that work the best are when someone does something, like we've had people do 100-man kumite, rolling challenges in Aikido, push-up challenges. So that's one of the things that works the best, is if you say you're going to do something intense on camera for the martial arts community to see, and you ask people to give you donations.
Sean ruled out. Sean can't do push-ups.
Do one.
We also have a donor box account, and we've had, for instance, Steve Moore run a marathon for us, and that was really helpful. So we can also create like these donor box pages for you. Or you can just organize a physical fundraiser now that that's going to be possible again. And PayPal works very well. We have NGO status on PayPal, so we don't have too high fees on that. But these are all the ways in which money can arrive to us with minimal damage. One thing I would not recommend is sending an international bank transfer.
No, it's not good. And then the other thing is, like, for people that don't have a lot of money, because a lot of martial artists don't have a lot of money, is like sharing our stuff, and it really does make a difference. And just commenting, and like, it helps with our visibility, and it also helps us feel supported as well. It makes when I'm on project and I write the blog, do I have to say on program now instead of on project?
Impact visit.
Impact visit. Okay.
Impact visit.
Can you like later on just like edit that around that, so that I then when I'm sort of impact visit? Yeah, there we go.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, but it's a project blog. I mean, wow. That's it. I'm not going back. This is just it. So when I write the blog, when I'm there, it's amazing how just having that daily report, because people, every time I go, so I often use a GoFundMe as well, because I have like FairFight puts all of its money into the projects, and then sometimes I like, if I get something like the visa issue or something other that comes up, and that's not money that FairFight can't afford to pay extra money to help me get to India because I happen to be British. That's just not okay. So sometimes these emergency things come up, and people are like, well, I understand that what you're trying to do is a good thing, and I understand that you don't seem to have 1,000 spare pounds in the back of your kitchen drawer for some bizarre reason, being somebody running a karate business through a pandemic, wow. And so Liam's like, yes, relate. Yeah, so just having that level of people, because everybody, like, even if they can't themselves fund it, then having people follow it, they might know people, they might, like, there's lots of what we do that's about community. And people that know, like, so for example, this current thing where we've got this sort of a spin-off of trying to support the cafe, which is going to significantly help people in extreme poverty with, whose life circumstances have been unbelievably unfair. Then, there's a cafe local to here that wants to sponsor that and sell FairFight things. And, and that comes about through visibility on social media. So that was a really lengthy way of saying, please share our stuff. Thanks.
Where do we get the hoodies? I want to know about the hoodies. So Jenny can buy one.
I had this hoodie made by a black belt a Dojo club just a few miles south of here, who's also a cobbler. So yeah. Big thanks, Snob and Lock. So yeah, and that was just this is a one of a kind, bespoke. Yeah, bespoke. So if you want a bespoke hoodie, then speak to me.
I do like a hoodie, right?
Yeah, me too. Right?
With a suitable markup on it, of course, for FairFight, of course.
Yeah, naturally.
So what we would like in the long run, so we've had just a huge support from individuals, people donating on Facebook. What we really appreciate is having long-term collaborations with, like for instance, we have this long-run collaborations with Jindakai. We now have the commitment of HDKI. So the more martial arts associations we can reach out to, the better. The more alliances we can. It just helps us to plan a bit, to know that like once a year Jindakai will do a fundraiser, once a year HDKI will do a fundraiser, and we'll also be looking to add businesses, like small, medium businesses who'd like to have a long-running partnership with us. I think the key, because we now have so many programs running, is going to be having more long-term predictability, because people's lives are actually depending on this now. We're at the point where we can take a girl and change her life from early marriage and working on the black market to a university education, and that's just, we can't take risks anymore when there's so much at stake, when lives can change so dramatically because of what we do and don't do. So that's why we're looking for more long-term stable partners now as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, there's quite a few. There's a Rob Jones's Zenshin Dojo in Bristol. They keep giving us money. Ian Abernethy supports our stuff as well, and like Molly's Cafe. There's lots of places that keep giving us some money, but consistently. And just like if everybody gives a trickle, then actually that's a torrent, and it's that regularity. And more martial arts clubs, like the Bunkai Bastards, for example.
No, I was going to give shout out to the Bunkai Bastards. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
What name for a club?
That's
Awesome.
great.
they're
Call the
like,
kids club that.
well, do you know what, their merch, I've got a Bunkai Bastards hoodie, and they do tend to like just have it as a BB, because it's anyway. So but they a lot of people that particularly in martial arts, they go, that's a charity that we can support ongoing. And when we do a fundraiser, because a lot of martial artists are very strongly involved in lots of kind of charitable works anyway, and so it's nice often to have a charity that they can directly see that it's a martial arts connection.
Yeah, we have a growing number of people now who just send us like £5 or £10 a month. And like, it doesn't seem like much, but just to know that that's coming in on a month-to-month basis. I mean, it costs €35, so £30 a month to put a girl in school. So if you're sending us £10 a month, then you're paying for a third of a scholarship.
Yeah, it's making a real impact. That's what struck me when we talked originally was not how little it was. It's still money. I mean, it's still, but you're not looking for millions of pounds, although that would be nice. But there's small amounts of cash make a big difference. They really are impacting directly on these young girls' lives. It's literally life changing. Just these small amounts of money.
Mary and I are laughing because the number of impact visits we've run on a shoestring. it's
Literally. And people don't appreciate that if they give me £5 sterling, what I can actually do with that on the ground in India is like so different to the value of money in that location is so different. So different.
It's crazy to hear. Well, ladies, it's been an absolute pleasure to get to know you better and to hear your story and to hear about the amazing work that FairFight is doing. We'll put details out. Sean, I'll put details out on the page. How to donate, all the information that you could possibly need. Anybody watching this, get involved. This is right in our wheelhouse. We're martial artists. This is something we can all get behind. As Mary said, we can connect with this. This is something that we can do. We could really make a big difference with it. So if you're listening, get your hand in your pocket. And if you're a lady 25 years plus, you need a mentor. Well, so thank you very much. I think we'll call it sorry, mate, carry on.
No, I was going to say, and if you have any other skills that you think that we're clearly lacking, then just, not just purely in terms of teaching me the correct terminology for what we do, but you might, there may be one of the things that holds us back is that we grow very, very slowly and carefully. We never open a project unless we're convinced that we can support it properly and help it to grow and connect with the community there. So we get a lot of people, so many people. Jeannie gets this all the time. I get this quite a lot as well, where people say, hey, I know this place in, X very poor remote location. It would be great if you and FairFight could go and do something there. And we're just like, how many people do you think we are? We're working our nuts off trying to support the projects that we've got, and we just can't clone ourselves. So there may be people out there that go, that's so much appeals to me that I would like to volunteer for, getting involved. And that's usually starts with fundraising. But if people have kind of proved to us that they're not just up for a jolly and they want to go and have their picture taken with people, oh look, here's me with a poor child. If that's that's the thing too.
If you think you can help, you're right, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Thank you. That's better.
Well, thank you very, very much. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a genuine pleasure and inspiration to listen to the story and the work you're doing. And I'm sure you're not good at taking compliments, because people in your position really are. But you're doing fantastic work. It really is. It's often used word inspirational. So please keep it going, and we'll do all we can to support on the channel. And Sean and I have got clubs as well. I'm sure Sean and I will get our shoulder onto it as well.
Yeah, we'll chat. Kind of taken back, to be honest, with just listening. That obviously we knew you were coming on, but didn't know too much. So thank you very much for coming on, girls, and for kind of shining a light on it. I really appreciate that, and kind of just taking back from what I've heard, to be honest. So thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys.
All right then. So that was another awesome episode of the Karate Podcast. Thank you all who have listened today or watched us. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Get the news out about FairFight. Get it out there. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies. Whoever gets the job done. And we will see you in a couple of weeks in our next episode. So thank you once again to Mary and Ginny for joining us this evening. And thank you, Sean, as always, for being here on a Sunday night. And we'll speak to you all again soon. All right, so take care and keep training. Us.
Thanks.
In
Bye.
3, 2, and 1.